card we're going to look at is 1 mana common spell, Living Roots, and it reads, choose 1, deal 2 damage, or summon 2 1/1 saplings. What do you think about
what
this?
What list are we using? I don't think I'm using this.
I'm on the Hearthstone list.
Yeah, me too. I just started from the bottom.
I'm not going in order of Hearthstone. I'm going in order of rarity. So you'll have to bear with. You'll have to bear with me.
There you go.
So it's not going to be. It's not going to be exactly the order that's on the site. Sorry, guys.
Convenient.
All right, let's go.
So yeah, Living Roots. Faramir, you want to start things off? What do you think about this card?
Sure. You know, lately we've seen like some people playing aggro Druid from like Mystery Aggro. I got some couple like rank ones with it, like whatever China and EU and whatever. So this is like one of those cards that fits great into a wild, what's it called? Power of the Wild deck. I feel like that's just like never gonna use it for the smite damage because like whatever, it's 2 damage. But you like if you can get like 2 1/1s on the board, then say you just like use it on turn 4 with like the Power of the Wild. Suddenly you have 2 2/2s on the board and buff your whole board for a little more. So I could see that in like a deck that just dumps your whole hand and then plays Astral Communion on like 4 and just like gets 10 mana and then suddenly draws an Ancient of Lore and wins the game. But like we'll see it. Like we'll see if a Druid, like if you like people are gonna play Druid with like Jeeves or something where they just like dump their whole hand and then just like draw cards after. If there's enough good aggro cards for Druid, then they might do that. So if that's the case, this card's gonna be good and it's gonna be a staple in those decks. If not, then it's just gonna like they're just not gonna get played because Wrath is just better. So yeah, depends. Like it all depends on the if the saplings are gonna be good because like 2 damage is pretty irrelevant. That's what I wanted to say. English is hard. So,
Okay.
Yeah, that's my opinion about it.
What about you, LOKShadow? What do you think?
Oh, yeah, I kind of agree. It's just like basically for the more aggro type of decks, the ones that you've seen lately are mech versions, but you may see one that's like more beast synergy wise, probably less dependent on like wild growth starts. You can have, use things like Power of the Wild to buff up tokens, like more of a token type of Druid. So I can see this working in that. It'll probably bring it back, give them like more anti-aggro answers in the beginning, other than just Wrath. And I think it'll definitely see some play. Just bring out a new type of Druid that's not just a standard combo Druid.
All right, Neviilz, what do you think?
I think it will like make aggro Druid way better. Like adds the extra reach. If it was like the other 2 drops with the 2, 3 and the stealth 1, it gets like a lower care for aggro Druid, makes it better. I think it's pretty good overall. Yeah, I like it.
All right, Cora.
It's a Holy Smite with options. An Arcane Shot with the option to not be an Arcane Shot. So yeah, I mean, I think I like it. Definitely more of an aggressive deck. So I agree with these guys. I sort of question if you're gonna want 2 of these and also 2 Wraths. I guess because Wrath can option you some draw cards, and 2 damage versus 3 damage is different in different situations. Each one might be better, but maybe having 2 of each would be a little too much. I'm not sure. But yeah, I like it. I think it presents good versatility.
All right, it seems like we all kind of agree on this card. That yeah, I see kind of it being played like 1 copy in like a faster combo Druid list. Just because, you know, if you manage to get the 1/1s to stick, maybe you can Savage Roar, or against aggro, it's helpful. I agree that the 2 damage doesn't really matter that much.
Thing like if you like compare the card to something like Wrath, if like Wrath is good in both regards, because like Wrath can pick up like a high attack health minion with like 1 HP that you don't want hero power necessarily because you don't want to take damage, so you just like pick that up, draw a card, and like the 3 damage is like most of the time is useful to just like pick up a minion in the early games. Like, thing with this card is like, sure, like if you play against aggro, this card's gonna be useful as a removal because like most aggro cards not gonna have 3 health. Like if 1 drops, 2 drops, it's gonna be like Knife Juggers, Flame Imps, whatever. So probably gonna have like you're gonna be able to remove those. And if you're the aggressor, then the saplings are gonna be decent. So I like this card. It's like a good choose one card. There are definitely worse ones. So yeah, just like to compare it to another Druid card. It's pretty similar.
Yeah, I think you like lowered the care for Necro Druid. Like I don't know you could place like 6-drop, what's it called? The commander. Like I think your highest card would be Force of Nature just to finish off and play like very like 2 drops, 3 drops and just, you know, smolk.
Really, you don't
Yeah,
think you'd
that's-
even run Dr. Boom?
Yeah, just play like a double Savage Roar and top it up with 1
Yeah.
Force or something. Yeah.
Never Druid of the Saber, just, you know, hope for the best.
It's just like dump your hand. Play like Squires, like play Jeeves and stuff to like get your hand, whatever.
Like stick minions for Roar and just, yeah, I think it's good. Maybe the keeper.
All right. Well, we'll have to see if that deck manages to kill a lot of the other new decks that we'll see once the card set drops. Let's look at Druid of the Saber, which is another card that would fit into that fast Druid deck. This is a 2 mana common for Druid. It's a 2/1, and it says choose 1, charge, or +1/+1, and stealth. So we'll just go in the same order. Faramir, thoughts?
It's charging 2/1 is so crap for 2 mana. Like, it's like it's Saucy deckhand, just worse. I guess it's like a 2/1 like always has charge, not only if you have a weapon. But like, this card is just bad because it's just like the 1 health makes it really weak to like every removal in the game. You don't need charge like for 2 damage. You rather play like you can play a fucking Bluegill Mortal, whatever it's called, Bluegill Warrior. That's the same card pretty much, and like it doesn't have the beast synergy either, which like might come in handy in whatever like the future beast druid or whatever. Like who knows what's gonna develop, but like that doesn't even have that synergy. So just on the stats alone, it's gonna be very weak minion. It reminds me of the I feel like the Anodized Robocop is just like the same mana and it's just better, even though it doesn't have charge. Just a better minion in general. And like the 2 damage are not worth it again. Like you can deal 2 damage with it. Maybe with Savage Roar it's 4 damage, but like it's just not worth it. Like that card's just not good enough.
Interesting. You're actually the first person I've heard review this card badly. What do you think, LOKShadow?
I'm really surprised that this is not classified as a beast, to be honest. Like all the Druid, like Druid of a Claw, Druid of Flame, all those are considered beasts, right? Like
Yeah.
how is this one not a beast?
Actually, it is a beast.
It is a beast?
Yeah, when it transforms, it is in fact a beast.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay. That might make more sense.
All right,
That makes
cool.
it better.
All right, well then it has the beast energy. Then it's basically, 2 mana 3/2, which is pretty standard, and it has a stealth, which is it's pretty nice. It allows you to trade more favorably. Yeah, again, I think this the cards that have been released, there's going to be a lot of beast synergy, and it's just going to spawn a new type of beast deck that curves a bit lower. I'm just maybe we can discuss this later. I'm just curious how, if you run a lower curve, how does Druid typically maintain?
Well, let's look at each of the individual Druid cards, and then maybe we can speculate about what that deck looks like. And
All right.
whether
Well, I
it
think it's
makes
just
sense.
2 mana 3/2 with stealth. It's a nice added like effect, and I think it'll be fine. It'll be fine in Beast Druid.
Yeah, Neviilz.
I think this is probably like it's not the best card out there, but it's probably. Not sure if it's a too often like this aggro druid list I'm thinking about, but it's definitely in there. Like adds more reach with roar. It's sticky. I mean, with stealth, it's it hits for 5. I think it's pretty good. If you're not in Beast Druid, because probably Beast Druid is bad, I would assume so. But yeah, I think it's like above average as a card. You wouldn't play it in ramp or in normal druid, but in necro druid maybe.
Like
Okay.
just so I can cut in here, like sure it's like a 3/2 with stealth, but if you play aggro Druid, I'd rather play a Knife Juggler, to be honest. Like, if you throw out small
Yeah,
minions, like, all the time, like, I'd rather have a 3-2 that might not have stealth, and might not get to attack, but, like, that just, like, does something immediately. Like, the 3-2 is just not good enough to be stealth. Like, there's not really good minions that just, like, they just have, like, 3 health. Like, if you have a stealth minion, you generally either want to, like, buff it next turn with, like, whatever, like, let's see, like, look at Priest, right? They play a Gilblin Stalker to, like, buff it with Velen Shows on the next turn. Druid doesn't have that. Like, unless you play Mark of the Wild, you can't really buff that card the next turn. And like the other reason for having a stealth minion is like you wanted to trade up to a stronger minion, but there's not really a stronger minion that like only has 3 HP. Like, let's say like the most common forward right now is Shredder, has 3 HP. You trade in, and then it still spawns a minion, and it like gonna still be behind. Like,
That's a good point, especially because there's so many 3-mana 3/4s in the new set.
yeah, exactly.
Cora, what do you think about this card?
All right, so with Living Roots, I like Living Roots because it is directly comparable to Holy Smite and Arcane Shot. Druid of the Saber, 2 mana 2/1 is just, it's not great. 2 mana 2/1's not great. 2 mana 3/2 with Stealth isn't great. It's good in Arena. I think it'll be pretty good in Arena. Just right now, especially with the Druid 2 slot, I mean, if you're not Wild Growthing, you're Wrathing, and if you're not Wrathing, then you want to be coining into something. It definitely doesn't fit with ramp or combo Druid that we have now. Potentially with a more aggressive build, especially if we've got some pretty good beast synergy coming with this set, and it could have some potential, but I'm a little underwhelmed by it.
Personally, I feel like it fits fairly well into like a faster version of just normal combo Druid, because like you can get the stealth Druid of the Saber into Shade opening, which I feel like is probably pretty good. And like if you draw it later, you just keep it in your hand and then charge it when on your Savage Roar turn for extra damage. So it seems like pretty decent to me in that deck. And like if Beast Druid becomes a thing, obviously it fits in that deck as well. That's my feeling about it.
I don't think it does. I don't think it, just because it's a beast, I don't think it fits into a Beast Druid. Like, it's just like,
kind of,
sure, it's a
kind
beast.
of-
It's not gonna survive. Yeah, it's not gonna survive. Like, that's my thing. It's just like, sure, you have the stealth, and then if you don't have immediate follow up, like it's safe played on turn 2. Like, see the other card, the Wild Breaker, has 4 mana. Give a friendly beast plus 3 health. It's not gonna survive that one turn that is between that. Unless you always have like a 1-drop and do that into coin Wild Breaker, which might be like the dream, whatever. It's not gonna survive. So like, I would say like that a card like Druid of the Flame is much better. The synergy with like a Wild Breaker or something. But like that card is just too weak to survive like that one turn it needs.
So you think
It's
you
that
just
way.
skip the 2-drop slot for Beast Druid?
No, you just like play another card,
Run
play an
something
Knife
else.
Juggler, play
Okay.
something else. Like,
With the huge comparison of Beast Druid, I doubt it will see like. any
Speaking
play
of Wild
at all.
Walker, Wild Walker
Like-
apparently is the actual name of the card. It's a 4 mana 4/4 common with Battle Cry. Give a friendly beast plus 3 health.
Wild Walker. Did I say Wild Breaker?
Yeah. It's like everyone called Flame
I was
Waker
thinking
Flame
of the-
Walker.
I was thinking
And
of
so
the Flame Waker.
we're
because
gonna
I was-
reverse
I
them.
Oh my gosh.
I thought it was Flame Walker at first. And I was like, oh, guess not. Cora, what do you think?
Of the Wild Walker, I kind of like it. If you think Temple Enforcer in Priest is the 6 mana 6/6 that gives a friendly minion plus 3 health, this has the exact same effect but for beasts. And it scales pretty well, so it's the 4 mana 4/4 plus 3 health for a beast. So definitely good in a beast synergized arena deck. In constructed, I think it even has some pretty good potential in sort of a more beast oriented, maybe even still a combo list, but maybe like a beast ramp list with Knight of the Wild, that sort of thing. So I like this one. I think it's pretty solid.
Okay. What do you think, Neviilz?
As I mentioned before, probably Beast Druid won't be like top tier. The card is okay, but I think you'd rather play Shredder. Like stats wise, Shredder is insanely like way
Yeah.
better. But if you want to play Beast Druid, I guess you have to play this, right? You can't miss on this.
I don't know. Honestly,
I don't know.
I feel like I wouldn't even run this in Beast Druid. Like a 4-mana 4/4 just like isn't very good. And like yeah, you give a friendly beast +3 health, but like you're probably playing Druid of the Flame the turn before this, and that has 5 health. So you don't really need to give it another +3 health.
Yeah.
That's my feeling about it.
Gives you like favorable traits here and there, but yeah, still.
If it were +3 attack, then it would be a whole different story.
Yeah.
Still think the health is pretty valuable. I feel like it's sort of like a 4-mana 4/7 worth of stats, and I mean that would be really good. It's just you're sort of spreading out the stats. So I don't know. I think it's not the most amazing card you're ever going to find, but I think it's pretty good.
I think that analogy is like only goes so far, because when you have 3 of the health on a different minion, you can trade into the 4/4 and kill the 4 attack. So
This card isn't seen that. Like whenever you always like compare to Shredder, right? Same spots like 4 mana, and Shredder is OP, so you kind of lean towards Shredder.
But Doomsayer, it's not OP.
Yeah, like Doomsayer is how much? It's like 410 stats.
Like half the time it's even better. But like the thing with like the Wild Walk is, these kind of cards, like the 4-mana 4/4s, and there are a couple of those in the game. You have like Dark Iron Dwarf, you have a Master of Disguise. Like those cards are just not good enough for the 4-mana slot. Like that's why a lot of people just play Yetis there without a text, right? Like for a long time they just played Yetis.
yeah.
So like if you look at the spot, it's like, okay, it's gonna lose like the 4-mana battle against Shredder right now, right? So then you have to look at the text. Is the text good enough to make up for that like disadvantage, right, that you have on the 4 spot? And like you have to think about what's it gonna buff. Like let's say you play it on curve, and you buff a minion with it. What's your 3-mana beast that you're gonna play? So there's not that many 3-mana beasts in the game. Like let's see, what's the 3-mana beast? Iron Fur Grizzly. You're gonna play Iron Fur Grizzly in your beast druid deck. So then there's like the Druid of the Flame card, right, that you have just from the Druid. It's gonna be a 5/2 or 2/5 beast. And if it's 2/5 on turn 3, like you want to make it a snapshot turtle, or you just make it a 2/8. You know, it's just like sure it's gonna be hard to clear, but it's not gonna deal damage. So it's like, or you take the risk with you're making it a 5/2 on turn 3, and if it doesn't die, you might make a 5/5 out of it, which actually would be decent. But you have to take that risk, right? That the 5/2 doesn't get moved for 1 turn. And whenever you have to take that kind of risk,
Yeah, it seems pretty iffy to me.
it's just generally not worth it. So.
Yeah.
I don't think this card is good enough just because it dies on the 4 spot so easily. Like
Yeah.
the buff is actually really good. Like giving something +3 health is actually really strong. But I don't think it's like, if it would have a little bit more survivability, like I would always say like Templar Forcer isn't a bad card. It just doesn't fit in what priests want to play. There's just not enough
Yeah.
like just not enough spots in the deck to play it. But like this is a card that just like, if it's a 4/5, that's a really strong card. Or if it's even if it's a 3/5, it's a really strong card. But like 4/4 just dies, so that's why like I don't really see it. But I don't know. Like
Yeah.
There's
LOKShadow,
not-
you've been quiet the entire time. What do you think?
Well, I think the essential comparison of these kind of 4-mana 4/4s is to compare it to Dark Iron Dwarf. The issue with this in like a beast deck is, at least with Dark Iron Dwarf, you're usually playing a deck with lots of death rattles, and then one of the issues I see with the Beast Druid is that they don't have a lot of death rattles. So like you're comparing to things like Shredder, and for the 4 slot, and it's just not gonna be as competitive as Shredder, just because you can't guarantee your board is like a very solid beast board. I can see this being like if you pull this 3 health off on a Druid of the Claw, like Druid of the Claw is already 4/6. It's pretty annoying to get rid of. You make it a 4/9, it's basically like Ancient of War. And so I can see that being pretty annoying to clear. It's just that there's no guarantee, it's not going to be a very consistent setup for that because there aren't any good death rattle beasts, I think.
Yeah.
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 you have to make it.
If the
you have to
spectral
make
creepers from Haunted Creeper were beasts, it would be a whole different story. But it doesn't spawn beasts, so.
Yeah.
Well, the 1/4 is not that valuable anyway. It's like
Yeah.
the thing is like we have to like think about as well. if we like talk about these new cards, right? Like we started with the Living Roots, that would be okay with in an Aggro Druid. Aggro Druid is not going to be the same deck as a Beast Druid, so Beast Druid is going to be slower. Just because like the good beasts are not 1, 2, and 3 drops, because like they're all pretty crap. Like the only good beasts in that slot are like just the Creeper on tier 2. That's not a good aggro card. So, thinking about it that way, if you play a more late game focused deck, that card could actually be pretty decent. Like just buff your taunts up more. Maybe, but like I'm not sure. Like it only works on one taunt that you have, or like it literally just works on the Druid of the Claw if you want to buff your taunts. So it might just not be like it might just be too situational to play it. Like,
Yeah. Well, speaking
Same
of
as, like,
speaking of Druid beasts, I think we need to try to move on. Savage Combatant is a 4-drop rare 5/4 beast, and it says Inspire, give your hero +2 attack this turn. So anyone watching that doesn't know what Inspire means, that just means every time you use your hero power, it triggers this effect. So is this card the 4-drop of choice in Beast Druid?
I guess you kind of have to. I still like compared to Shredder still better. But I guess you like Shredder is so dumb. I guess you can say compare the 4-drops, huh? Like this or Shredder. It's pretty much the comparison. I don't like it. Like it's good for left spinner and Hunter, you know, at more reach, but I guess you play it in Beast Druid. Yeah,
wow.
right?
Like with Hunter, just like 4 damage for 2 mana. That's actually
That's gonna be really frustrating.
Yeah, oh my god. But yeah, I mean, you have to play it still, Beast Druid, but yeah, I don't like it.
I feel like this is a Ramp Druid card, personally. Like, you run this in like a really slow, like, Aviana deck as just, like, extra removal. So you play it on, like, turn 6 and then Wrath something for not using a card. And, like, you don't even care about it that it's a beast. It's just, like, it's like a Blackwing Corruptor that doesn't require dragons.
The thing is, I already tried to play Beast Druid, just for fun. After DVD came out, I just replaced pretty much all the cards that were like standard in the slot, right? Like with Beast. So I had the slot, like back then everyone played Yetis on 4, so I played, what's it called? The 5/4 for 4 Beast.
Soul Strider?
Soul Strider, exactly. I played that. I played the Druid of the Fang, right? Played like all the beasts that you can play in that deck. Played like the Druid of the Flame instead of Shades, right? I tried that out, and that's like just exactly that card. Like it's exactly a Pulse Rider. You're never gonna get that hero power off unless you play it like on turn 6, and then it's gonna have like 3 attack as a hero power. So you're basically gonna have that card plus a Wrath, right? Why not play Shredder and Wrath instead? Like it's the same thing. You're not gonna get the thing. You don't want to play it instead of Shredder because Shredder's just better. You're not gonna get more than 1 hero power off. It's just the way Hearthstone works. There's so much removal. All the minions most of the time are just gonna live approximately like 1 turn, maybe 2. Like that's the most minions live normally in Hearthstone, right? So that's why I'm not a big fan of the whole Inspire mechanic. Because like most minions don't live longer than 1 turn. So like you literally have to proc the turn you play it. Inspire mechanic, otherwise you're just not gonna get to use it. So another big fan of this card. It's just dies to Shredder, it dies to Swipe, it dies to Wrath Hero Power. There's so many things it dies to. Just easy removal, dies to Flame Strike, dies to Frostbolt Ping. Just like so many things for 4 mana that kill it. It's just way too easy to remove. Like, it's the same thing with the Toll Strider. That's why Yeti is so much better than a Toll Strider. 1 health on that 4 slot makes it so much valuable.
Yeah.
It's much more valuable. So, just on the stats alone, that this card has, with the like implication that you have to use your hero power to get that thing, which means you have to sacrifice tempo. Like tempo is like you play cards right on your board and try to like win the board game while pushing damage. If you want to use that Inspire mechanic, you can't use that. You always use 2 mana for your hero power. That means you play weaker minions. That means your opponent can catch up. So yeah, there's just on that alone, that card doesn't make much sense to me. Ramp Druid, not really. Like there's just better cards to play in the 4 slot. Just play Shredder. Like just
Just
always
always
go.
Okay,
always-
but like it's not really a 4-drop, right? It's really a 6-drop. It's like
Yeah,
it's
but
a
there's
6-drop with Battle Cry, deal 3
Yeah.
damage.
Play Sylvanas, play
And then
Emperor.
you
There's so
draw,
much.
and you.
Why not play
you
both?
5, or
Why-
5/6.
Why not play
There's
both?
so much.
I don't know.
Yeah, because then you're gonna get too crowded in the 6th spot. Like just you can only play like a limited amount of 6-drop, and like if you play Ramp, Sylvanas, and Emperor are staples, especially in Druid. So that's already 2 you have to play. Like then maybe like a Black Knight's gonna come back eventually. Like if there's gonna be a lot of taunts, we'll see if that's gonna be the case. I don't like this card. Just like it's just not good enough for me. The
Yeah.
beast.
Once again, LOKShadow's been silent the entire time. I really want to hear what he has to say. Also, Cora has been quiet.
Cora just died. Like a camera died, and she just
I
like.
didn't.
beast.
Okay, my camera
Just beast
shows
that.
that it is on. If you look at the Hangout, I can see everything. I am alive and great. And I turned it off and I turned it back on, and
I
can
now
see
I'm
you.
a stock
It didn't,
photo.
I
it didn't
can't
turn
see you
back
in the
on for
Hangout.
me.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't see me in the Hangout?
No.
Yeah.
Off. Okay, so you can't see me.
Yeah.
On.
I still can't see you.
No.
Nothing?
You're
It's showing.
you're actually invisible. That's what
It
happened.
might be
Oh.
invisible.
Literally, yeah.
I
I'm
can
a
see
ghost.
I can see the cat behind you, but I can't see you. You know.
You
just
can
like-
see my cat, but you can't. I mean, he's beautiful. It's something. Alright, let me.
All right. Opinions, please, on the Savage comeback.
Yeah.
I think we skipped one. We skipped the Darness's aspirant, but.
Well, we were talking about beasts, so I figured that we would
alright, I guess.
go
yeah.
to the other beast.
We need to have some order, Faramir.
Tell me about the
But
card.
yeah. What do you two think, Cora and Locke?
I mean, I think it's fun. I mean, I watched the stream with Ben Brode and Frodan, and you play it, you hero power, and it's like you have a deadly, or like it's like you have a fiery war axe swing, or it's like you have a deadly poison dagger swing. So I mean, I think it's pretty good. Okay, I'm not gonna say pretty good. I think compared to piloted Shredder, it is bad. I think if you remove that from the equation, the fact that it's a beast makes it a little bit better. Do I think people are gonna play it? Not unless they're really dedicated to beast synergy, just because it is more of a turn 6, and on turn 6 I'm not playing a 4-drop, I'm playing a 6-drop. So I don't know, I'm a little torn. I like it personally, but I don't think it's going to work very well at all.
Okay. Locke, what do you think?
Yeah. I'm a bit underwhelmed by it as well, but I guess it makes playing piloted Sky Golem a little bit more fun. You could get this out piloted Sky Golem, and then it's a pretty good card.
Okay. All right. Seems like the consensus is probably not going to be played. I'm going to try it.
The consensus is it's good if you get it for free from a web spinner or from a pirate.
Look,
It's infinitely better than Lost Tall Strider.
If you don't,
this is
yeah.
true. Look,
If you
But
don't
that's
play it, it's
but it's a
better.
class. It's a class card, so it has to be different. Like that's the way. Like we're gonna get to that later when we get to the common cards. But,
I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it.
It's better when
We'll
when
see.
you don't
Like,
play it.
I may not be successful, but I'm gonna try it because I think it's an interesting card. I think it's a cool design.
Yeah.
Speaking of cool designs, this is the card that you mentioned, Faramir. Darnassus Aspirant. It's a 2-mana, 2/3 rare, and it says Battle Cry, gain an empty mana crystal. Death Rattle, destroy a mana crystal.
Finally.
This card has created a lot of hype. Does it live up
Finally.
to the hype?
So
It's like-
good.
It's so good.
Why don't we
Finally
start
ha-
with Cora and LOKShadow this time?
Okay, I'm gonna shut up.
Can you guys see me now?
No, you still
No.
blue blob.
Still
No.
invisible.
Blue blood
But can you see me in the Hangouts?
Nope.
You should leave the hangout
No.
and then come back after you.
No,
say it.
please don't do that.
No, couldn't mess
please
this
don't.
thing
Oh,
up.
please
Crap.
don't do that.
I unplugged it and I plugged it back. It's on. It's ice. Oh, I hate this. Alright. Darnassus Aspirant. It's really good. It's really, really, really good, and I like it a lot. And I think, I don't know if I can compare it, like, I'm unsure as to whether you're going to play this or Wild Growth, or this and Wild Growth, but, I mean, you play it,
In which
and
deck?
you really have, in, I mean, well, I guess, maybe it's a more aggressive type deck because you get the ramp with the minion, but I think even in ramp this would work reasonably well because you're really not losing anything. You get a 2-mana 2/3, and then potentially if it lives for a turn, you can do something, you know, that you couldn't have done before because you have the extra mana, and then when it dies, you're not behind at all. So, I don't know. I think I need to think this one over a little bit more. I think this one will need some testing as to whether or not you use this instead of Wild Growth or with Wild Growth. But I think it's really good.
Okay, LOKShadow, what do you think?
I think it's good. I think it will replace Wild Growth in more aggressive kind of deck. It's basically like a mech warper kind of, without the specification that it has to be for mechs. So I can see this working in a more aggro type of druid, and then I think you just cut out the Wild Growth.
You cut Wild Growth. All right, so you're on the. This is instead of.
Yeah.
Camp.
Yep.
Oh, now we just have a picture of Core. That's also nice.
Nice.
Oh, thank you.
Chat was going a little nuts over Faramir telling you to leave the call. They're just like, Faramir is so mean. Just leave the call. Just
Don't take
leave.
it
Get out of
personally.
here.
He's just a big jerk.
I'm
No,
just
it's okay.
I'm just a big jerk in general.
I took high school German, so like, I don't know. I feel like I can take him. I don't know. I'm fine.
Alright.
I make fun of a German all the time. It's
All right.
It's
So
because it's terrible, but I'm not going anywhere.
So
You're fine.
I want to say that I actually don't like this card.
Gasp.
And the reason I don't like it is I feel like the way that anything faster than like that, like if you're running like a really aggro druid deck that just has like a lot of minions on the board early, like okay, maybe this works really well. But if you're running like a more standard kind of druid, I feel like what you really need is to be able to actually use the extra mana. Because otherwise you can't hit your curve that you're trying to hit. So if this gets removed, you're really, really sad. And I think that's going to happen a lot. Because there's a lot of things that kill a 2/3 in a lot of matchups. And people are going to know that this card is a threat, so they are going to make it a priority. So I feel like I don't really want to run this card, personally. Especially because if you draw it late, it's just River Crocolisk. You don't even draw a card if you play it at turn 9.
Oh.
So, I know I'm like in the minority in not liking this card, but that's my impression of it. I'm ready to be wrong about that. It'd be cool if I'm wrong, because I like the design of it, but I just don't see it actually being good.
No, I actually agree with you. Like, it's just I'm really torn on this card. Just like, like it sounds so good, right? You get a Kryptonite Crystal. The thing is, like, you don't really lose much. Like, the thing with this card is, if like in the worst case, it's a 2/3. Like, that's the worst case, because you get an empty mana crystal. Even if they wrath it next turn, you're still gonna have the mana that you would have anyway on the turn afterwards. You're still gonna have 3 mana next turn, and if you don't remove it, you're gonna have 4 mana, and you're gonna be able to play your Shredder or whatever you want to play. So, in that regard, I like the card. It's gonna be fine. Like, there's gonna be a lot of druid decks that just don't play Wild Growth anymore. Just in general, I think. So, all the aggro variants, obviously, and that's not. I don't think this is gonna replace Wild Growth in like slower druid decks. I think Wild Growth is still gonna be the choice because it's just like reliable and it's gonna stay there, like the mana, right? So this is gonna be the tempo card for aggro decks. And if it gets removed, you still have 3 mana next turn. If not, you have 4 mana, you can curve out better.
Yeah.
The thing I have to mention, though, finally, it's a nerf to Shredder. Because if that thing drops on the Shredder, you don't get the mana crystal, and you can only lose 1.
Well, that's true, but you can also get Cut Purse.
Shredder finally nerfed. Huh?
You can also get Cut Purse off Shredder, though. So that's like the reverse SSS.
You can finally get the Totem Golem, the 3/4 for 2 mana.
Oh.
So, I don't know about Shredder being nerfed by this set just because of this card.
Just because of that card?
There's some other pretty good ones you can get.
Just count that card, it's a nerf. Okay.
Yeah. You don't care about Golem. Like, Golem is fine, right? Totally fine, balanced. Yeah. We only count this card.
All right. So, varying opinions on this card.
I love this card personally. Like it's gonna be in the aggro druid. Like you normally don't play left right now. I would assume like you play too many targets to bolt. That makes sense. Like Shredder, 3 drops. I think it's fine. Like if it lives, I mean you're happy. If it dies, you're not too sad. You still play a 3 drop as Faramir said. I think it's good. I think I do to replace Wild Growth in aggro. Yeah. And compared to like maybe McWarden, if it lives, you benefit. If it dies, you still play Spider tank on 3.
Yeah, so now that I'm thinking about it more, I feel like the real distinction with this card is whether are you running a deck where you actually want to curve out into a 3-drop or not. Because if you're running a deck where you actually have 3 drops worth playing, then this card could be really good. But if you're running a deck where you really need to hit a 4-drop, then I feel like...
Why do you have to have a 3-drop? I don't understand that.
Well, just because if you're curving out into a 3-drop, then it does act more like Mech Warper.
Yeah, it's a Mech Warper. Pretty much that's what it is.
But like if you're not really running 3-drops that much, like a more standard like combo druid, then I think it's a problem because if it dies, then it's like, well, you don't have a turn 3 play. You needed to be able to play your Shredder on turn 3.
It's gonna be an aggro card. Like it's not gonna that card's not gonna see playing like the druid we see today, where the double combo druid with 2 shades.
No way.
Yeah.
That's not gonna be the card. So
Yeah.
you're gonna see Micro doing that and those kind of decks. Like this is gonna be an aggro card. That means you play like 4 3-drops and 4 4-drops, and you're always gonna have something to follow up. But even if you don't have those, you're gonna have a 2 and a 1-drop, or like a 2 2-drops or something. So you're always gonna have something to play there. Especially if you play it on turn 2, because then you always still have like a lot of cards in your hand.
Yeah.
So just helps with curving out in general. So
Yeah.
it's not gonna see the play in the normal druid that we have right now. I think so.
Yeah, I agree.
What about Knight of the Wild, the 7-mana 6/6 rare? Whenever you summon a beast, reduce the cost of this card by 1. So this is like the reason to play Beast Druid, because Druid of the Fang wasn't good enough.
I mean, if you really want to play Beast Druid, you can. And if you're playing Beast Druid, you have to play this. And Wild Walker, I feel like. Maybe you can play, I guess even competitive, of course, too. I think it has to be like a staple in every Beast Druid.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I mean, if you...
Makes me want to play it.
3 beasts, yeah. I think it's pretty good. Like the card alone.
Yeah.
I like it.
What do you think, LOKShadow?
I'm just trying to think what you would cut for this. I mean, it is. I guess you can't really think of it as taking up the 7-mana slot because you want to play your lores, but you may have to think of this card more like a 5-drop, I guess, because Druid does run a lot of 5-drops. So you just have to think of this. Probably you play it like for 5 mana. Granted that you have some beasts in your opening hand. I guess I'm just worried. I'm just thinking about like what you would sub out because I think there aren't enough card draw options that you have to stick in your ancient lores still. If you're cutting out stuff like Azure Drakes that help with the card draw, and if you're cutting out rats for cycling, then you're gonna be quite limited. So somehow you have to like keep in mind the card draw. I'm not sure exactly how Beast Druid's gonna do that. But I mean overall it's solid. It's not a BGH target. It's 6/6. It's very solid if you play that for 5 mana. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like there's not a whole lot to say about this card other than like this card is really good. Is the deck that it fits in really good?
I have something to say about this card.
Okay. I'm trying to move us along a little bit faster because we have a lot of cards to get through.
Because I have something to say. Yeah, we're gonna take way too long, but whatever. This card reminds me of like it's like a cross between like Bulvar and Volcanic Drake. It's like it's a good card. Like just don't get me wrong. Like, this card is good. Like Bulvar is like when it dies, right? When stuff dies, you can get the buff, right? But like it's a good card just on its own. But it's like the same situation with like Pirates or Murlocs. Like your supporting cards are just not good enough to make a deck out of it. Like to what LOKShadow said, this card's not gonna get. Like, you can't think about it like with like what do you cut, right? It's gonna be a totally different deck. So there's gonna be like a lot of different cards in it, so you can't really think about it like that. And like thinking of like you're still gonna play like Ash-Flags and stuff, and that kind of beats Druid to draw cards, but like I don't think the beasts that are just like supporting it are good enough to like warrant this card. Like I like the card design that it's not like they could have easily made it like an 8/8 for 7. It would have still been fine. But then it's like it gets BGH and things get like totally unplayable. So like I like this card on its own, but I don't think like, their supporting cards are just good enough.
Well, let's move on to some of the other cards. I want to finish up Druid as fast as we can because we really do need to start moving a little quicker.
What is it?
Let's look at Mulch. It's a 3-mana epic spell. It says destroy a minion, add a random minion to your opponent's hand. I Craigasmed when I saw this card because hard removal is one of the things that slow Druid really needed, and I love me some slow Druid. Agree, disagree? Locke, you're shaking your head.
I mean, I think it would be good in Mildred. I think it's a buff to Mildred. I still don't like the whole giving cards like Naturalize, and like Naturalize is also hard removal, but I mean, I guess a random card could be bad, but it's like giving them an unstable portal. It's always up to RNG. They could get a nice legendary out of it. I guess it's not reduced in costs, which is okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the not reducing cost is a big deal.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if I'd run it though.
I feel like I'm hearing sighs.
I like it.
You like it? Yes!
So
okay, I'm not alone.
I like it. Okay, and here's why. How many times have you played an unstable portal and gotten something absolutely useless and awful? Many, many times, right? So basically, this is destroy a minion, add potentially one of those really crappy unstable portal minions to their hand that they're not going to be able to use. Granted, it could also be destroy a minion, give them, Tyrion, which it would never be good, but I don't think it's terrible because it's pretty fairly priced, in my opinion. So I don't hate it.
Yeah, I mean it's a 3-mana assassinate.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty good.
3-mana assassinate that gives them an unstable portal, so it's basically 5 mana disadvantage for you.
I guess
3 mana assassinate that gives them wisp. You win. Game over.
3 mana sap most likely is like the best comparison. Because like you basically sap, but I guess shuffle the card or something. I love this card though. Not sure what to cut for it just yet, but in Druid's decks had removal, as you said, Shevek. The only hard removal is basically BGH, right? Maybe Keeper in some cases, but yeah.
Yeah.
I love this card. Not sure what to cut for it, but yeah. I think maybe at 1-off. I mean, for sure at 1-off.
Yeah, definitely a 1-of. Definitely a 1-of. Unless you're playing like super like mill Druid where you just want to have every removal and that's your whole game plan.
Yeah.
Now this card is crazy. Astral Communion is a 4-mana spell and it says gain 10 mana crystals and discard your hand. Oh my god. I don't even understand how to think about whether this card is going to be playable or not. Like, I understand sort of what the deck is, but I have no sense of whether it's even plausible of it working. Because, like, if you get the dream to happen, right, it's crazy. How often do you have to get the dream to happen for crazy to be good enough?
Every time.
Okay, let me tell you why this card is not gonna get played. Just on like short. This card's never gonna see play in like a serious competitive deck. Just because you have to think about it this way. Let's say you get the dream, right? You drop all your shit before turn 4, and then you play this card. And then you have 10 mana and you're happy. And then you draw your next card. It's gonna be 3 mana. Then you're like, sure, I can get the 3 mana minion called Hero Power. That's great.
Well, I think the idea is you play a lot of card draw cycle. That's on the board. Sorry.
Let me finish. Like the thing is, like you contradict yourself with that, right? You play. The thing is, if you want to play that card, you have to dump your deck. That means you're gonna play a lot of low cost minions, which means the 10 mana is not gonna help you very much because you're only gonna draw 1 card per turn. which means you can't even drop like multiple minions on a turn. Then you say you play a lot of card draw, but if you draw a lot of card draw, you're gonna get stuck with that card. If you don't draw it like after you dumped your hand, like if you not get the dream, you get stuck with that card on your hand, with a lot of your card draw used, and then you're gonna have like 8 cards in your hand, and you're not gonna want to play this card. It's just like, unless you get the perfect dump on turn 3, you play that card on 4, draw a Jeeves turn 5, and draw 3 cards, this card's gonna be garbage. Like, it's just not gonna be good. Because Druid needs to constantly drop minions. And if you play a deck that just plays aggro, dumps their whole stuff by turn 3, then you'd rather have a Savage Roar turn 4 than this card. So, because it totally contradicts your deck. You don't want 10 mana crystals with an aggro deck. You don't care if you have 5 mana or 10 mana, because you're not going to use all of it. So that's why this card's not going to get played.
Toida says challenge accepted.
Toida plays Fate, Death, and Hunter.
No.
Toida is an innovator.
Alright, so what about like obviously we're going outside the bounds of competitive now, but what about in like Tavern Brawl or like in an adventure boss deck? I feel like this card could be like really useful.
Yeah,
like what if you play this against I want to play this against Heroic Chromagus.
Well, Chromagus could be cool.
Cora, this is your your time to shine about the arena and
all right, in arena, this card is terrible.
Brawls.
No, this card is terrible in arena. Nobody's gonna play this card.
Of course.
This card is absolutely awful. Maybe in some crazy tavern brawl where every card costs 0, and for every card you play, you draw a card, maybe, or something like that. Who really knows? But no, this card's horrible in arena. This card's risky at best and constructed, and absolutely terrible in arena.
You have to build a deck around this card for it to even be plausible.
Yes.
And then again, your whole deck that you build around is going to contradict itself.
Yeah.
So,
I think it'll be. I'm gonna I feel like this card is like maybe in like a year and a half we'll have enough like other cards that work with it to like do something crazy. But right now we don't have the support.
Chad wants lock opinion. Go lock.
Yeah, maybe they could make a Tavern Brawl where it's like you can put unlimited copies of a single card. So you play 2 of these and play 28 Deathwings. That'd be pretty fun.
I guess.
If you don't draw it first,
that's
though,
amazing. I want to play that. All right. The last Druid card we got to talk about is Aviana. Aviana is a 9-mana 5/5, and says
Insane.
all your minions cost 1. And before we talk about it, I think a lot of people are confused about how Emperor works with this card. So, if you play Emperor before this card, anything that had its cost reduced by Emperor does in fact cost 0, because Emperor reduces the cost of cards even below 0. It actually is like a negative counter added to the cost. So it doesn't matter whether you play Emperor before or after. You can still get stuff to cost 0 with this card.
The thing is, like, the card effect triggers basically first the card and then the Emperor buff comes in, so it's like, you say you have a 9-mana minion that got reduced to 8, the card sets it to 1, Emperor reduces it to 0. There you go. Your 0 mana Ancient of War. There you go.
Card is insane. So dumb. Like, don't think about its body itself. Like, it's a 5/5 or 9. Everyone thinks that's why it's bad. But you can, like, if you play it for 8 with Emperor, like Innervate, it's like insane value. If you play War or Reg, same turn, balance.
You basically have to play something that costs 6 or more to get value out of this card, right? Because otherwise you're playing a expensive 5/5 and not getting enough value out of it. But if you play anything that's a 6-drop or higher, that's a good card, then it's crazy.
Yeah.
Wait, I think I missed a clarification on. So if you play Emperor, like, okay, so let's say you play this Aviana's like 8 mana or 7 mana. You
Yeah.
play it, doesn't that? So the text says all your minions cost 1. That means like any cards that are reduced to 0 by Emperors just cost 1 again.
No. Anything that was reduced, anything that had one Emperor activation on it will cost 0 after you play Aviana. Because the way Emperor works, it doesn't reset the cost of a card. It actually is like a minus counter on the card.
Okay.
So your minions cost 1 minus however many times they were in your hand when Emperor was on the board.
Okay, so you play Aviana, then you play Emperor. The cards that cost 1 in your hand cost 0.
Okay.
Or
And then-
even if they were in your hand and you played Emperor before and then Emperor died and then you play Aviana, they still cost
They
0.
would still cost 0.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Huh.
This
I mean, I
card-
guess that makes sense. I just didn't think about it. No, I love this card. This card's insane.
I'm so hesitant about the 9 mana though. It's just like
Just
you have
jump
to
right
get-
in and be happy about it.
you have to get like Emperor on it and innovate to really be good. This is like a card that you play in a deck where you only play like 10 drops in it. Like, do you remember that one brawl where like every minion costed 1 or something? Was it a brawl or was it like, I don't even remember what it was. Like, oh no, it was like
It was a heroic.
it was like a heroic-
challenge.
yeah, something in BlackRock, right? But like every card costed 1.
Oh yeah, I remember
Every-
that.
And
That
you
was
had 1
awesome.
mana and your
Yeah,
opponent had 2.
And you had 1 mana. That's what it reminds me of. But it's like 9
Yeah.
mana. Has to stay on the board for it to be valuable. Like, sure, you might be able to like drop 1 card with it, but you already have to invest 8 mana in that card, which is kind of shitty. Or like 9 mana, like without Emperor. Let's say you get 1 Emperor proc on it. Don't have it innovate. Play it turn 8 with like a Sylvanas. Okay. Or like Rag, whatever. It's still not that great. Like, it's pretty easy to remove at that stage of the game, around turn 8 or 9. It's pretty easy. Like, the most of the decks gonna have their big board sweep by that point, like a Brawl or like Quality Consecrate or like Executes or stuff like that in their deck, or like Fireballs or Big Game Hunters or Flame Strikes, whatever you want to call it, right? There's so much removal in this game that even if you get that card off with 1 good card, it might not be enough for it to be like valuable enough. But I'm not sure. I'd rather play just like a bigger minion that I'd just rather drop on that turn, like a Nurag or like a Scenaris maybe. Just like I'd rather play that big minion that I want to play with it than just that card. Like, that's just my opinion. I don't know.
I mean, I think
looks-
a
it looks
lot
cool,
a
but-
lot depends on what the other decks in the meta are, right? Because I think you're correct that if there are a lot of decks with extremely effective removal that can just deal with this card even if it's behind a taunt, then it's not going to be as good. But it's kind of hard to say what the decks are going to be because, you know, if that isn't what most of the decks are like, then it could be better. And also there are plays that you can imagine making with it very plausibly that make it a lot harder to deal with. Like, what if you play Aviana Kel'Thuzad and that's your turn? Like, they have to deal with both minions at the same time. Otherwise, you get to keep Aviana and then you win.
And this thing supports a deck that curves out really, really high. And like, if that is okay in the meta, then this card's gonna be great. But if it's not gonna be okay in the meta, then this card's just not
Oh,
gonna
totally.
be
Totally.
Yeah. If I'm Druid would be good. I mean, this has to be in it though,
Yeah.
right? I feel like.
All right.
I feel like it's probably like a staple.
Yeah. Basically, if you're running a really slow Druid, then you're going to put this card in. If you can't run a really slow Druid, then this card won't see play. So we'll find out if that deck is good.